Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to our Betweenlands tutorial showcase series. So today what we're going to be talking about is the Wight Fortress. We're going to start getting into some of the structures and stuff that you can explore before moving on to some of the deeper mechanics of Betweenlands. So today our focus is on the Wight's Fortress, this thing right here, and this will spawn in marshes. As you can see in this area here, it's going to spawn in either of these marshy biomes. And when it comes to entering this is the official entrance. We're going to come back to this in just a minute. You can see stairs that go up into it. And you will get an achievement when you reach one called Enter the Stronghold. Anyways, if we head into this lower section, this is not the official entrance, but this is all just kind of side content. If you don't want to do the side content, you can just go straight up these stairs into the Stronghold proper. But this bottom section, there's actually a lot of loot down here. You're going to see, you're going to enter in one of 4 corners of this area, and there's going to be spawners in not necessarily all the corners, but oftentimes there will be a spawner, and these will be your general spawners. So they can spawn chiromals or blood leeches, things like that can spawn from here. No pyrads or anything like that. From this one, and you can see there'll be a lot of urns of chance inside this dungeon. You can see 2 just in this one room, and you don't have to clear the spawners as you go. You can save them, and you can see over here is another identical corner. This one is spawning chiromals in this corner. No urns of chance, it doesn't look like, in this corner. And if we push on, looks like over here, no urns of chance, but we do have a night hag spawner, or a swamp hag. I swear, too much D&D, I think. And then over here we have another swamp hag, urn of chance. Now this is the central structure. You'll see some urns of chance littered about above us here, and some urns of chance down here on the bottom floor, as well as some roots and stagnant water here in the center. You'll notice that if I try to break blocks, they're not going to break. As is true for most of the dungeons within the Betweenlands, we're not going to be able to break the blocks until we actually clear out the dungeon. So just bear that in mind. And you can easily get these urns of chance if you use something like the hook shot, or the grappling hook that I showed off, a few episodes ago, something like that. Will easily give you access to these urns of chance. Now, a couple things to find on this floor, and a lot of the reason that you're going to be completing or going down to this floor, or I do highly suggest you go down to this floor unless you're just swimming in materials and things from the Betweenlands, is if you look over at this wall here, it's just standard between stone, standard between stone, standard between stone. There will be one wall that sticks out, and that is this one here with the bricks. And so what we can do is we can actually just walk through this wall. And you can walk through on either side of it here, so we can pass into, just creeping here. You can walk through into this little area, which will have a weedwood chest filled with all kinds of stuff. You can see there's some valenite, pretty much any of the Betweenlands, just lootable, assorted items from the chest that's here. And it's a very easy one to get to. Now, if you have the stuff to restore your decay, you should jump down in the stagnant water, because the mother lode is down here. We dive down. You can see we come down into this room, and this room it can be a little bit dangerous. You can see we've got a chiromal spawner over here. We have a termite spawner over here, and then over here we have another termite spawner. And the longer, in my experience, the longer that you spend on the upper floors, the more mobs that are going to spawn down here. So gunning for this room pretty quick, it's not a bad idea, because by the time that you come down through this stagnant water, your decay is going to be a bit low. So maybe eating sap jello on your way down, or having something like, if you've already gotten into herb lore, you can, craft a potion to bypass the stagnant water effects, which is a good idea as well. But you can see down here, there's going to be some urns of chance, and there's also going to be entire blocks of valenite, cymerite, and octite. Which, like this one right here, there is, for example, 5 valenite blocks. That's a ton of valenite. That's enough valenite for you to make your armor sets and your tools, and have a little stockpile of valenite left over after. So if you're feeling brave, you can come here as soon as possible instead of mining, but it is a little bit dangerous without some good gear coming down here. Termites don't do a ton of damage, but in hordes they can. But if you just rush this place, you can bypass a lot of that early game mining just by coming into one of these dungeons. And so that's pretty much it for the bottom floor. Now if we come around to the proper entrance, the staircase is going up. This floor, you're going to see a lot of Urns of Chance in it, and once again there's going to be 4 corner rooms that have spawners. This floor can spawn pirates, as you can see here. So this floor can be a little bit more dangerous to navigate, depending. So pirates are a little bit dangerous, but you're not going to see any chests on this floor. It's all going to be just Urns of Chance. Now this floor here, some of these blocks are going to be enchanted, and as we walk across this, there we go. You can see ghosts will occasionally come out and try to grab you, and they will deal damage to you. And you'll see here, I don't take a ton of damage from the ghosts, but it is a little bit. It's something to be aware of. You can usually gun right across this floor without too much issue. But just so you're aware, there are spirits here that will try to grab you. More Urns of Chance here, another spawner, another Pyrad spawner, for that matter. And then there's going to be another Pyrad spawner. Oh, so many Pyrad spawners. And then this room over here. But as you can tell, these are all pretty much identical floors. So, or identical rooms. Now, there is going to be a staircase in one of these halls. This takes us up to the next floor. And sometimes as you're walking up these stairs, there will be ghosts that will spawn. I didn't get any at that time, but sometimes, yeah, there we go. Ghosts jumped out and tried to get me. But this floor is a little bit different. You're not really going to have the ghosts popping out. As you can see, I can walk near the walls. Right now, I'm crouching. And you'll notice that the floor is kind of busted up. If we try to run across this, you'll see that the blocks behind me begin to fall. If you crouch across this, you'll be fine. But just bear in mind that these are kind of weak between stone. So if you're running from something, the blocks will fall. Now you can still navigate this room because you can see that this block here, these on the very end will never fall. So if you do find yourself without any kind of floor, what you can do is you can just jump here and do that and walk across. So you can still navigate. It's nothing that's going to permanently lock you out of this dungeon or anything without flight, but just bear that in mind. Now, all these floors, or all these rooms in the corners will be kind of the same, except for they will allow for Weedwood's chest to spawn. So you can see, this is actually a unique weapon. We're going to talk about these a little bit later on. These are kind of like your treasure weapons. A-Spectre Seeds, also kind of rare. Very, very useful. We'll talk about those whenever we get into herb lore. So, and there will be a staircase on one of these floors, or one of these little hallways that lead further up. And I saw another Whitesbane in that chest. Not much in the way of spawners. They can contain spawners. We just got strangely lucky in this room, I guess. But they can have spawners in these corner ones as well. So anyways, if we head up, this takes us up to the top level of the fortress. Now there is still more fortress yet to go. But this is going to, once again, have spawners on the corners. There's a white spawner. There's a white spawner. Another white spawner. And another white spawner. But there can be some other creatures that can spawn up here. But we got whites. And they won't necessarily always have a spawner in each corner either. We got, like, what was it, 3 or 4 on the bottom. None on the middle. And then 4 on the top. But this one will have Weedwood chests as well. Occasionally on the corners, once again with these standard bits of loot and things in these corners, and there will also be staircase that leads up into the armory, which we're going to talk about in a second. Now there's also going to be pots of chance, and sometimes if you look back in these, there will be pots of chance also. Am I going to get unlucky? Oh, there we go. There's one. So you will occasionally find pots of chance in those also. Now this room right here, this is the Armory, and you're going to see these are spike traps. And if you step on these, it will shoot spikes up and deal a small amount of damage, but only when they're open. So you can navigate it like that. And what you're trying to do is get to these glowing tiles. And what they're going to allow you to do is they're going to allow you to break the item cage that's above. So, for example, pop into what else? You can see that I can't break this. No matter what I do, I can't break it. But as soon as I wait for this spike trap, and if you want to see the damage, they do about a heart of damage. Not too bad. You can just walk through this room if you so desire. But if you're standing on the glowing tile, there we go. It just takes a while. It takes longer than I recall. It's going to break that one off. And it basically sends an orb over into the center there. So honestly, having something like the Swift Pick here would help you out a lot. It would break this a whole lot faster. The Swift Pick we're going to talk about a little bit later with some of the unique tools and weapons from the Betweenlands. But just for example's sake, let me just go ahead and grab a Swift Pick. One of my favorite picks in all of modded Minecraft. That's probably why I'm used to it. Chiromalls, though, are really, really dangerous. Oh my gosh. There is a spawner up above. You can clear out the spawner before you come down here and do this, and it will help you out a little bit. But you can see that the Swift Pick is a lot faster. And then once you break all of these, it's going to go into the center, and it's going to create the Shockwave Sword. And this is going to give you the glorified toothpick. You do have to get this. It's basically required that you get the Shockwave Sword. Now, if you do have the Shockwave Sword from a previous Wight Fortress, then you won't have to get it again. You can just skip this part if you don't want duplicates. But you'll also notice some urns of chance around here you can loot as you make your way around the room. But now that we've got our Shockwave Sword, we're going to look for these stairs here. And if you notice, they're only going to appear on one side. But there are going to be stairs here that lead up to the next floor. And if we ascend here, and there will be some urns of chance that you can kind of platform over to, or just enter this room here to get. So just bear that in mind. But this room right here is where the Chiromal spawners are. You can see two of them that are sitting right up here. And there's going to be a Weedwood chest. So, item scroll, we're going to talk more about those. These are very, very important to grab them whenever you see them. I highly suggest anyways. And this floor is cracked, so standing on it will break. Once again, so if you don't want the floor to break, you can just sneak around. Just bear in mind that if you're standing on this and you want to open the Weedwood chest, you're going to fall into the spike room down below. Now, once you've looted that room, if you want to, there's nothing else really important in this room. But if we head up a little bit further, we're going to come up to this. These are barrier blocks, and it says only the sword keeper may pass this point. Now, what that means is, for example, if I don't have the Shockwave Sword, it's going to knock me back, which is actually extremely dangerous if you're in survival mode. And so if I go up to that, boom, I die. So highly suggested that you have the Shockwave Sword in order to avoid that. And once again, like before, there will be some urns of chance that you can platform up to. So just a heads up there. And once we're ready to proceed, this is going to take us to the boss fight. So if we have our Shockwave Sword, you have to be holding it in your main hand. So you can see that I still get knocked back if I try to go in there without it in my main hand. But if I hold it, I walk right through it. And it breaks all the barrier blocks off at that point. I'm going to go ahead and pop a new night vision potion here. But if we step in and we stare at this eye for a minute, we're going to get teleported to the Primordial Malevolence fight. So the way this fight works is we're going to have to keep an eye on these. We're not looking for the blue ones. What we're looking for is going to be specifically green orbs that he's going to fire off. He shot me with a blue one and knocked me back. And you want to avoid these. These deal damage to you. And you're going to just try to grab these with a sword and shoot him with it. And you can see that the way this boss works is he has basically a force field that protects him. If you hit it, you take damage. So you kind of want to hit the open spots on this boss. And so basically what you're doing is you're grabbing those green orbs. You're launching them back to open up weak spots in his armor. There we go. And each time that you hit him, it will open up a new spot for you to hit him. And it gets progressively easier the more spots that you have opened. I actually hit him, I think, in the same spot that time around. And I'm using some herb lore stuff. Once again, we'll talk more about herb lore a bit later. Now, the blue orbs that come out sometimes, those aren't going to be much help to you. Because you specifically want the green ones. And I'll show you one other thing after I bring him down for this little bit of beating. Now, if you have enchanted tools and stuff like that, it does help a bit. And sometimes if you have higher jump, you know, maybe from other mods or something like that, you can just jump and hit him. And you can see that I'm getting more holes in him, so I can start dealing more damage. Now, if I was to fall off or jump off of this, well, let me go back up there. Normally, it'll teleport you back up. It always has in the past, because I've always shown it off in videos and stuff like that. Like, hey, if you fall off, that's okay. But I guess. Let's see. Sometimes it can be hard to... there we go. Sometimes it can be hard to find him when you're holding... when you're holding an orb, so... but you can see, I would suggest you bring a lot of decay, like sap jello and things like that. Possibly a Chiral Maw wing, because it looks like I'm about to need one here in just a second. But that's because I've been eating it throughout the showcase, so... Let's see. And you can knock them back, especially if you have the Ancient Greatsword already. It does help. And as you can see right now, I mean, this boss isn't overly difficult. It's more of a patience fight, in my experience. And bringing enough food and stuff to kind of sustain you, because it does tend to be a very long fight, unless you have really strong weapons and things, you know, maybe from other mods and whatnot, which of course can help you out. You can see, I mean, it's not like he's doing a ton of damage or anything to me. It's a pretty relaxed fight until the later stages. I mean, you can see there's like a whole side of his little orb missing. And his health is getting down. And he's going to start doing his super attack here in a minute. And the more times... Here we go. This is it. So you'll notice that he starts spawning whiteheads all over. And you kind of have to like run and dodge all these blasts. And they're going to speed up. Until he does that one big final, like, here's a ton of blast attacks. Alright, now one more time. There we go. He's dead. We got the steering contest advancement, and you can see lots of XP is going to rain down from the sky, and he dropped two things here. The first up is a general boss item, which we're going to see drop from all the different bosses. That's the amulet slot, which allows you to right-click and add new amulet slots. You can have up to 3. That's one for each color. We're going to talk a little bit more about those in an upcoming episode. Now, the other thing that he drops is the Ring of Recruitment. This is one of a few rings. You can see altogether there's 6 different rings. Not all of these come from bosses, but we will talk about the boss related ones as we go. So the Ring of Recruitment, it grants the power to recruit and control entities at the cost of experience. So for example, and what you'll want to do is you want to pop down. I haven't shown this before, but we haven't really covered any equipable stuff. But we can pop into here, and you can see there's going to be open equipment menu and use your primary ring. We're going to go ahead and set these. Just set them to whatever is comfortable for you. And the way the Ring of Recruitment works is if we just right click to equip this and we summon, say, a Night Hag, and I hold right click on it, you're going to see I shoot it with beams, and now there's a tether that attaches to it from me. And then what I can do is I can spawn, say, another Swamp Hag, and if I go to attack it, it's going to start attacking that Swamp Hag and start beating on it. And you can have multiple monsters at once that are following you around, and they will battle for you and all. Like for example, if I try to grab this one, you can see it does drain a little bit of XP, but not too much. So for example, yeah, the ring does not have enough power left to recruit this entity. So I can't have more than 4 Night Hags. And we have different commands that we can issue to them. Like for example, if I right click here, they're all going to move over to here. Whenever I have an empty hand, if I have a sword or something like that, it's not going to work. It's only going to work with our right click. And you'll notice down at the bottom right there, right next to my hotbar, there's a little slot there. And we're going to talk more about inventory, like equipment inventory, and what all can go in that slot and how to use it. So that's how that works. And you can get passives and things like that. You can also tell them to guard an area. And what they're going to do is they're just going to protect it from mobs. So this one here, he's going to start battling. Anything that's aggressive, he's going to start beating on. And so this one can be set to guard and be left in a place to kind of guard an area. Maybe you want to put them on your doors outside. Then you can do that by setting them to guard. Right now they're set to follow. That's the sword icon, and that's what's going to allow me to send them to a place. Like for example, if I set this one to guard and I summon mine, he's going to stay where he's at because he's guarding that location, but these are going to stay with me. And then if I set them to stay, like if I set these 2 to stay, they're going to get this little symbol above their head, and they're just going to hang out. For example, if I spawn that, they're not even going to go and attack it because they're not fighting hostiles. And one other thing to note about creatures captured with the Ring of Recruitment is that if you want to equip amulets to them, you can. And we're going to talk more about amulets, but if you want to buff up your creatures a bit, we can grab a few amulets here. And this one right here, he's going to get a couple amulet slots equipped. And now he's got all 3 amulet colors applied to his attacks and his defense. So just bear that in mind. And like I said, we'll talk more about amulets in an upcoming episode. And lastly, the ring is going to have a special effect. If we hit N, you'll see it does that. And we can drain. We can use it a couple times here. It is going to damage our minions, and you can see my XP bar is going down because it's healing them. Basically, it drains off some of their HP to give me a shield that I can use for combat. And it's going to drain their HP, so it's using some of my experience to heal them. And what happens is it puts this little aura up around me, and this is just like the boss's shield. And the way it works is all of these little triangles can take a hit. But if a creature hits me, after it hits a location, it's going to remove the triangle. And then if he hits me again, I'm going to take damage in that one spot. But, for example, if I hit shift, it's going to drop me into this. Now, I can continue to hit N and just drain my minions' health down. And once again, you can tame cows or you know, something like that. If you want to take cows back to your base, it's an easy way to do it because you can just grab them with the ring of recruitment to take them. So, and there we go. Attack him! And when these are fully upgraded with amulets, they actually deal a massive amount of damage. So just bear that in mind. Also, great for battle. And if you want to be a necromancer, I mean, you can tame skeletons and all that, if you so desire. And then, of course, if your XP ever runs down, it is going to release your minions. So just bear that in mind, that you can lose them and then have to fight them once they are lost. But you can leave them at your house or something if you want to keep them safe. Set them to stay mode if you're not using them, and that's fine as well. They can't be attacked by the player, and if you ever want to unbind them, just shift right click, and you can see that my tether has now left that hag, and it's going to notice me here in a minute. Huh. Well, maybe I've made a passive hag. Using the ring of recruitment, I have created a passive hag, but if I hit it, my minions are going to attack it. But you can see it's not really fighting back. I almost feel bad doing that. So, but yeah, so anyways, I'm going to end out this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.